Welcome to the Durty podcast, where we're going to talk about D&D and Dungeons and Dragons, and getting all nitty gritty into how we become better at this game, of never-ending game. Today I had interesting thought. Today I got an interesting thing, I think. Less talked about, from what I can see. From what I can gather, is less talked about in general. And this, my friends, is forgotten already. Governmental structures. Yes. Governmental structures. That's what I want to talk about. The structures of society. And we know them well. We know them well, as we all live in one. So, but what does this mean in D&D? Basically, where do I start? Right. You want to, I guess this kind of covers a couple of things. It covers like engaging your players. Making your players feel like they're part of the world, like in it, not just playing it. I had this question a long time ago. I think obviously dire consequences is one of those things. But I actually think that is fucking wrong. No, that's not the whole story. The whole story is, I think it's governmental structures. So things like laws, police, taxes, can't ride your horse in town dead fast, you might get a speeding ticket, that kind of thing. Because this gives your players an understanding that the world is not just them, and it's not just made up. It is made up, but it's not just simulated for their convenience. It helps them realize that the world is a real place, right? I think the example I used was the players getting arrested. Nope, not used. The example I have for you guys, that I have used as a sentence, is the players getting arrested. We got arrested by the Baron of a town because the players killed some cultists who were summoning a demon, which is a good thing. But they don't have a license to kill, so it's a crime. So the players end up getting captured and taken to the Baron. Now, first off the bat, it's a taboo, I think, in the old D&D community. I think a lot of people are like, don't capture your players. Like, don't set up a way to capture your players. Which I think I disagree with. Or I think the old adage might be, don't rely on your players getting caught. Because they might not want to. Which I do think is good advice. But if you don't know how to capture players, there's millions of ways to do it, obviously. But I think there's the fundamental understanding that you need is players don't want to get caught because they think they're going to die. If you can just somehow tell them that they're not going to die, whether that be literally telling them or implying it in the game, you'll get a lot further. Because these two came out and the guards were waiting for them along with some dead bodies that they'd killed. And they just got arrested. When then they didn't fight. But then, great, hold on. Gotta explain something. My players don't really mind getting caught and then transported to the next scene. Because I think there's a certain amount of trust that comes along with this as well. On my part, that I'm not just going to kill them. They're not just going to be stuck with no chance to escape and then get executed. That's not going to happen. I'm going to give them opportunities to escape. I'm going to give them opportunities for gameplay and roleplay. And this is the adventure now, getting, out of jail or into jail, because they've done that too as well. Just gone to jail on purpose, which I'll get back to later on. So yeah, you got to kind of convince them that they're not going to get caught or they're not just going to die. But also, I guess a lot of NPCs don't want to just kill people straight away a lot of the time. Is a way to think about it. So if they are completely surrounded with crossbows, for example, and it's like you've got nowhere to go, players might still try and go somewhere. But then you kill one of them, or you TKO, TKO? Technical knockout? Or you knock out one of them, knock them down, and then you speak as the leader and say surrender or your friend's going to die, right? Obviously, you shouldn't rely on this. The story can't, I agree, the story shouldn't hinge on you catching the players. But you can try your best to try and actually catch them. But don't hinge on it, because the players might actually find a way to escape. And then if you kind of force it at that point, it feels a little lame. But yeah, you could totally capture the players. And I think the biggest advice I can give you is if your players are like, we're gonna die, and they're just fighting for their life, just be transparent and honest with them. Be like, no, I'm not. Like, you guys kind of put yourselves in this situation by killing people, not thinking of the consequences. Usually that's how they end up there. I'm not just gonna kill you. Like, there'll be opportunities to escape. There will be times that you can talk. Like, I'm not just gonna kill you. Just play along, basically. Nothing wrong with a bit of honesty. Nothing wrong with some transparency. I think it's actually one of the better things to do in this kind of scenario. But you have to capture your players. This is an example of governmental structures being incredibly powerful. You capture your players. And then I took them to the Baron, and he offered them a choice of go to jail. But obviously they were good at what they do, which is adventurers. Because in my game world, most of my games, not even my world, just most of my games, adventurers are seen as like really good at killing people and getting tasks done. Like, if you need it done. But they have a pesky problem of thinking for themselves. So people in power aren't as inclined to hire them unless they really need something done, because they're going to be fucking trouble, a lot of them. So he offers them either go to jail, or you can do a job for me and then I'll let you go free. But we see your faces, we know your names, because they wrote it down in a ledger. So they have that, because again, taxes and forms and things like that are things they might do. So have guards at the door, so as the players enter the establishment or the tavern or whatever. Oh no, sorry, fucking hell. They're completely wrong words. Into the city, they have to sign their name in or find another way in, but then they're in there like, kind of illegally. So that kind of thing. Like, there's documentation of who they are. Or give them adventure licenses that they have to actually buy to go do adventuring because it's the king's land. Like, there's so many examples of it, but it's the best way to pull them into the world, because now there's stakes, right? Now there's stakes. No, not that there is stakes. Then there is stakes. There is a stake in the world. They are like, well, I have a home and I have taxes and I get certain benefits for that, right? That's just fucking free healthcare, right? Free, so they get free heals if they go to the doctor. Something like that. Give them some sort of benefit as well. But like, play around with the whole society thing. You don't just walk in and walk out with nobody noticing. They have documents. They know who you are. So that you can so that it takes a lot of the pressure off of you needing to improv everything that happens. Because there's a logical system to this. If they kill someone, there's no need to improv what happens next. The guards are going to come. They're going to arrest them. They're going to put them in jail. They're going to go to court. And they're going to decide whether they go to prison or get executed. That's the process of events. And then all you have to do is improv a way for them to get out. Which you should definitely do. You should definitely give them situations where they could escape. Or let them, they'll ask you for... Anyway, okay, getting sidetracked. So, back to the Baron. I gave them the choice of go to jail or help with the task. And like I said, because he has their names. So this achieves a hell of a lot of stuff. Because... the players are like, right, okay, we can do the job, but is he going to keep his word after we do the job? How long does the job take? The job could take multiple sessions. We could also run away. But then, like I said, they know their faces, they know their names, because they wrote them in as they entered the town. So there's this question of, oh God, is he a bad guy? Is he evil? Is he just taking advantage of us in a situation where he can use us? Or is he evil? Either way, we don't like him because he's exploiting us. So then they had to go do the task. They did the task. They came back. And then he was like, oh, you guys are really good at your job, so I'm going to ask you to do another job. And that's when my players had enough and just said, take me to jail. And then the whole campaign pivoted to a jail and an escape. And now they're going to try and overthrow the Baron. Whole thing. Anyway, so So your options are they do the job, like I like kind of have in mind, but then they have all these questions about the Baron. Like, does he have weaknesses? Can we overthrow him? How do we get out of this? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? You've set up a situation where they need information. And how do you get this information? You have to talk to people. You have to go around speaking to people. And this is a barony, right? We've got cooks, blacksmiths, merchants, people that wash clothes, farmers. Well, they're kind of connected to it in a way. Oh, quartermasters, Jesus, guards. I don't know if I said that already. There's thousands and thousands of people. Now, I'm not saying prep all these people, all these NPCs, because obviously the players could just go to jail or run away, and they might not need all this information. But the point is, it's there, and if you give players something to explore, they're gonna explore it. If you give them a dungeon, they're gonna fully explore a dungeon looking for treasure, right? So if you give them players something, they'll do what players do, and they'll play it, right? But if you don't give them something to actually like sink their teeth into, or give them no reason to sink their teeth into it, they're not gonna. Like, why would they? But if you give them the situation where, look, you've written your names down, you're stuck in the situation with the Baron, you can't get out of it, what are you going to do? And they're like, well, I don't know what I need to do yet. We need information. So then they're going to go, right, how do we get that? And then they've got, someone will be like, oh, there's a barony. Like, how would we do this? And then they'll go around speaking to people, right? So this is how, basically, is what I'm getting at. You use structures of governmental structures because it makes your world feel, 1, much more alive. 2, engages the players in the world. 3, you don't need improv as much because there's a kind of an order of things and how it works. And it gives your world a lot more logic. So players also feel like the world is real because if they use their brain and go, how does he get his food? Well, there must be a cook. Go talk to the cook. They can poison him, right? The plans are easier for them to form and easier for you to figure out how it would work. And then you've got jail, right? Let's say they go to jail. You got a whole thing going on in jail, right? How do you get out of jail? Usually you need other parties. You got guards, you've got wardens, you got prisoners, obviously, and different kind of echelons of prisoners. That's a fucking weird word to see. I don't know if that's right. The different groups of prisoners, right? You have elves and you have maybe they divide on racial lines. Which is a system in itself. So if you want a way out, you'll have to probably, if you set it up this way, plan an escape with other people. So you've got to engage with NPCs again. You got to look at people's patterns. This is how you do it. If they run away and become outlaws, that's a whole thing, right? They'll have outlaw-specific towns, or outlaw-specific inns and fences and stuff like that. There's a whole network of underground shit. So they have to engage in that structure again, which is engaging with NPCs, which is talking to people, which is giving the world its due. And it's not just somewhere they can walk through, because they're not top dog, right? They're normal people, unless they obviously make a royal character. But there's dukes, kings, noblemen, guards, merchants would even, I think, technically be above. Would they be above them? I'm not sure. But you got all these people that would have some sort of medieval structure. Like, it doesn't take a lot, I think, of understanding. If you've played the game even a little bit, you understand a king and a queen are above noblemen, and a nobleman and dukes might have different levels of houses. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. They're above the players. And then you have... would barons be below dukes? Fuck, I got no idea. Doesn't matter. You just throw these names in at random. The point is, there is people that word carries a lot more weight than theirs, and they can't just stab them. Like, if you put goblins in front of them and then they're having a talk, social dynamic, if someone gets pissed off, they'll just kill it. It's a monster, and the repercussions would be fighting. Same with other things, monsters per se. But if you have humans or bandits, right? But if you have humans in a society, you can't just stab a governmental structure, right? It doesn't work that way. If you want to overthrow this baron because he pissed you off, you'll have to find a way to get to him because he's got too many guards. You can't just rush in there and kill him. Obviously, there's a certain level of low level play where this applies to. That's not a sentence. That this applies to. So you can't go, like, if they're level fucking 20, they're taking on cities and countries, right? But if they're level 5, you could, they're really powerful, but they can't beat an army. That kind of idea. So you have these governmental structures. They can't stab them because who the fuck are they stabbing? So they have to engage. Like, they have to play the game. And once you make this obvious, it shifts it into focus, and the players are like, oh, okay, we're not the most important people in the world. Like, this world runs. And then because you take it seriously, I find so do they. So then they have all this sneaking around and doing all this stuff. But obviously this isn't necessarily reliant, like I said before, on capturing the players. That was just an example. But if they kill someone, the guards come looking for them, and then they knew they were there. They've given their name at the door. They could give a fake name, obviously, but maybe they do, maybe they don't. Either way, you make things difficult for them, or they make things difficult for themselves based on their actions. And then it's not you being a dick and just capturing them for no reason. It's like, no, you commit a crime. Well, they're going to do the thing. But as a DM, I'm not just going to kill you. So we can actually play the game here. So that's governmental structures. There's thousands of things you can do, right? There's endless. Like no magic in towns. So if anyone casts a spell at any point, it goes off. You could have guards that have counterspell if you got a high fantasy setting. Or if it's low magic fantasy setting, some magic's really fucking odd and scary. They're carrying a nuke in their pocket, basically. Like some of these wizards. You got paladin structures where, they'll have a society of paladins that are all good guys and they only like good things. So if any of your players do anything bad, they get chased by paladins, right? Which is a whole different bag of spanners. So all these structures are incredibly useful to use, and you should use them. Well, you should use them if you want players to take it seriously and think about their actions. If you don't want them to do that, and you just want a pulpy, stabby, don't do that. Because like I said, my design philosophy is still kind of encounter design. You design an encounter, and you funnel the players to the next thing. I don't like sandboxes. I think they're icky. So I design a encounter, like let's say Right, so we've done session 1. They've killed the cultists and stopped the summoning. So then the first encounter is guards, right? They exit, and then I ended the session. They exited the crypt. So then the beginning of the next session, they exit the crypt, and then the guards immediately jump them. And then I'm like, right, the guards are here. You killed people. That's murder. And then all my players are like, shit, it is murder. We forgot that the world is real, even though it's fake, but it's real. So that was encounter number 1, was dealing with whatever the fuck you call it, dealing with the guards. Encounter number 2 I'd planned was the Baron, like having to actually role play with the Baron. So then I just take them there. But if they tried to run away, I don't know if they would have. If they got away, that's fine. But if they got caught, I had that barony planned. But if they got away, if they got away, not that big a deal. They've just made it outside the city, and I'm assuming they'll leave. But then obviously there's cultists to deal with, so I can pull in. I've got stories and hooks and all that crap. I'm getting sidetracked that I could give them. But the point is, can you really get away from guards? It's really difficult, depending on how you set it up. But it's like they walk into an ambush. And if you have a lot of trust for your players, they'll be like, well, I think just not doing something at the moment is the better idea, because he's not just going to kill us. So they'll play along. So it's not creating a sandbox. That's what my point was. I'm not creating a sandbox. I'm creating an encounter, then I funnel them to the next encounter. However I get them there. Or the Baron could send a message that's like, we're not trying to, a scout finds them, or like, we're not trying to kill you. We have a job offer for you. Like, we'll meet you in not a secluded location, a safe place, a neutral place, right? So the Baron goes and meets them and then tells them to do the job, and then they get the offer. Same thing. So I have these encounters that you can just move around. But the governmental structure doesn't necessarily stop this design from working. As I said, I find there's a good a good rule of thumb, I guess, in chess, which is like play the center of the board, because it gives you more options. You can go left, like if it's a board, right, you can go left, right, up, or down, if the board's facing you guys. But if you play the left side of the board, when it's your piece's turn, it can only go up, right, or down. Same thing with D&D. If you have government structures in place, laws, taxes, records, all that stuff, controlling the narrative and forcing it, you've got more pieces to move. You've got more people. You've got more people who would know about the players. You've got more everything. You've just got more to play with. But if you don't have those things, you've got less to play with, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you just want a pulpy kind of one shot, 4 sessions, awesome stuff happens and there's nothing of consequence really, you just kind of have guards, like you can do that. That's completely fine. But this is more for social pillars, the social pillars of play. If you want the social interaction pillar to be like a main focus, like you want players to have like RP that is meaningful and has a lot of weight to the actual story and the plot. Obviously, the plot thing is a bit different. So the story, for example, when I put them in the room with the Baron, there's tons of guards outside, right? They're in the barracks. There's guards in the room and the Baron's talking to them. The Baron isn't just going to kill him if he doesn't like what they say. He was sent to jail. But then the players can't just kill the Baron. I said this before. So it's like a tense social interaction where the only way to get out is to talk to the Baron, is to resolve the scene. Not just, we'll just kill him, which they might do. But if your players like this kind of thing, they'll eat it up. And then, like I said, they got to go talk to the people, try to find the Baron. They got to find out all this information. The blacksmith, you can talk to the blacksmith, find out if he has a wife or family, and talk to the merchants. What does he buy? Is there ways to get to him? How do you overthrow a Baron? I've got no fucking idea, but the players would probably figure out. No, they wouldn't. They'd ask someone, and I'd have to figure it out. Shut. There. So you see, if you want social interaction to be a really big, like a big pillar, a big piece of your game, you have to set up governmental structures because, like I said, they can't stab them. They have to talk to people. So by necessity, they need to do it. And then they're not going to think, you're hamstringing me into talking to people. They're going to be like, I have a problem to solve. How do I solve it? And these are my options. And then they love having options. Whew. So yeah, governmental structures, use them. They're fantastic. If you don't use them already, you should. And if you really want, because I've had someone ask me how to do social interactions. How do you make it like a main pillar? That's how you would do it. If you want social interaction to be the main thing, you need external factors kind of forcing the players. Like the players won't go explore your dungeon unless you lead them to the dungeon. Right? They're not just going to go find the dungeon and explore it. I don't know if that's a good... Maybe not today. I feel like the landscape is changing. Our ancestors used to play D&D and it would all be about, like as far as I'm aware, it's all about dungeon delving. You could just go to the dungeon, you come out, you get rewards, you get XP. Now it's a lot more feely-weely. We love our feels, we love our stories, which plays a lot more into why people want to know how to do social interaction much more. How to do social interaction. But I don't know. I find the DM's guide in that not really useful for helping DMs figure out how to do RP and shit like that. But anyway, if you have any questions, if you have any thing to ask me, basically, tell me how I did. This is helpful. Hopefully it's helpful. I don't fucking know if it's helpful or not. This is how I think about things. So governmental structures, thank you very much for listening. Good luck in your endeavors. If you want to support me, there's all stuff below in the doobly doobly.